Hello and welcome to the show. Now, I am a firm believer that some of the most fun, some of the most entertaining racing you will ever have is single-make races, things such as these Clio Cup cars. Because everyone has exactly identical machinery, it all comes down to driver skill, and you put a bunch of fairly similarly skilled drivers together in these cars, as you have some truly incredible racing. Lots of overtaking, lots of battling, a little bit of missing your braking at turn 1 and going slightly exploring around the scenery at Hockenheim. It happens to all of us. Yeah, great fun to race in these kind of events. And the cars, are relatively simple, maybe with a little bit more power than the standard one. Roll cages, perhaps slightly better tyres, better brakes, etc. But fairly close to the standard car. You don't need 400 or 500 horsepower to have fun with cars like these when you are racing this close together. However, the one-night races do tend to focus on fairly similar sorts of cars. Clios are popular, MX-5s are popular, and so on. But what happens if we were to use vehicles that hadn't seen action in a one-make series, or hadn't really seen a huge amount of action in racing full stop, such as this Subaru SVX? I used it in one versus the community, and it was terrible. It didn't work at all. And I had one in an autocross build, where it was okay, but a little bit underpowered. I quite like the SVX. I think it looks quite nice, but yeah, in terms of race car, it's just not really been used. And then we have a Peugeot, admittedly a hot hatch. It is a little bit more of a, I guess you could say, sensible choice for this. I say hot hatch, and that's using the term hot hatch quite kindly. It's sort of more of a Luke-ish warm hatch, sort of the cup of tea you left and forgot about 20 minutes ago. That's kind of the 308 GTI. Again, we've seen one used in versus community a couple of times, but never done massively well. As far as upgrades for the cars, I kind of kept it in keeping with the one-make race series. The engines were barely touched. Exhaust was upgraded a bit, air filter was upgraded a little bit, got a bit more power, not a huge amount. Handling-wise, though, we got slightly better tyres, we got better brakes, we got a roll cage, we got some weight reduction going on as well to, make these cars sort of competition ready. That was the hope, at least, behind them. I tinkered around with the setup a little bit as well to make them a bit more fun to drive. And then we were off, starting with the Peugeots at the Catalonia National Circuit. A good track, this national layout, a good mixture. We've got a long start-finish straight, but we have got some tight corners, certainly towards the end of laps, and some medium speed corners, sort of halfway around. Turn 1 is a notoriously tricky affair, especially with this many cars piling into it. However, everything went nice and cleanly, apart from one car that did miss the braking. There's always one. Always one is going to miss the braking. It's turn 1 down there. Unfortunately for me, I get stuck 3 wide in between 2 cars. I say unfortunately for me, it's more unfortunate for the red car stuck on the outside of me, as I got a little bit knocked. And when you get knocked in the rear quarter of these cars, especially on cold tyres, the back can get a little bit on the loose side, and if your cars get stuck together, you are going to take a trip across the gravel. As you can imagine, mid-pack was frantic. Mid-pack in any race you do on the opening laps is always going to be busy, but when you have cars like these, where everybody is all very close together, it is absurdly busy. The red Peugeot here would try to make up a position, but on the exit was just a little bit too slow and then get steam-trained by 2 cars. Turquoise car would retake the position. Purple vehicle does fantastic to make up 2 places through that section. Much as you've seen before with single-make races, you can't afford to make a mistake. You make a mistake with these cars, especially this early stage in the race, everyone is just going to come flying through. As soon as you leave that door open, there's a red and white car to the inside. The purple vehicle that had done so well couldn't get stopped into turn 1. Neither could the red car. It was the red and white one on the inside that would make up all of the positions that the turquoise car was pushing his luck a bit, getting stopped into that first corner. He's then compromised through turn 2. That would allow a white car to come soaring past, as well. A blue car that fell off at the first corner is right back up in with this fight. And this is the sign of a good one-make series. When I couldn't decide what group to focus on when I was going through the replays to get footage, that is a sign of a good one-make series, and that was certainly the case going on here as we head into the very nasty, slow final couples of corners. The car we're riding on board with is rather keen to make up a position, can't quite get anything done. There's just a Peugeot ahead of him. The car that was leading that group put a wheel on the grass and lost 3 places. 3 places from one slightly misplaced wheel on the exit of that corner. And that is, what's going to happen. It is also very important you keep up your momentum with these cars. because they haven't got a huge amount of power, yeah, you can't afford to be running wide, and little mistakes can really, really cost you. I was actually quite liking the Peugeots and was on a little bit of a charge as we head down towards turn 1. Second place has gone exploring the grass. I have to try and go the very, very long way around, and that's not easy to do when you are in exactly identical cars. You know, neither of you have got any more grip to try and exploit, so that is, yeah, not the easiest of paths. I'm amazed. I didn't think I was going to get away with that one. However, the green car not giving up as, yeah, my sort of compromised line through turn 1 had made me a little bit slow through the second corner on the run up the hill. The green car was very keen to try and find a way past. He couldn't. I would defend quite heavily, and in all of that we had slowed ourselves down quite considerably, and that's just in a couple of corners, and there was a very fast approaching group of cars coming to try and take positions away from us. Yeah, getting stuck in traffic was bad news, and it was very, very easy to get stuck in traffic here. Up ahead, the Red Bull car, a little slow through that final chicane. Again, the curbs were quite nasty. They're not too terrible on these Peugeots, not compared to some cars that I've built, but the curbs could throw you about, and if you get offline, again, you see a car gets offline out of that final corner, you lose the momentum. You're slow coming down the straight. However, the Red Bull car did a very, very good job of regaining its composure, and it didn't sort of get completely streamlined down that start-finish straight. However, he would be stuck on the outside. I think perhaps a little bit of a lag twitch as well might have seen him out wide. The white and red car would move up a position. This is the fight for 10th. This is the fight for trying to get into the top 10, and this is how vicious the fighting was throughout the field. A few cars did drop off at the tail end of the group, and as you see, the field does kind of spread out a little bit, because as cars start battling, they really slow each other down. So when you end up in a little bit of clean air, you can actually make quite a big gap. So it isn't necessarily the most compact field we've seen, but where there were groups of cars, they were certainly going for fighting. This poor red car got all sorts of stuck. It is a quick car. He was trying to make up places, trying to make progress, just couldn't do it because he was stuck in traffic, and now they're looking almost going 3 wide into the first corner. You don't particularly want to be going 3 wide into there. The red car is trying to make that outside pass work, just can't quite carry the speed, and he's got to be very, very wary. You see, I was lucky when I went around the outside, I had nobody behind trying to find a way past, whereas in this group, you go too aggressive trying to get a pass, you run the risk of being overtaken. The blue car is sniffing around in the purple car, got up alongside, but then couldn't quite maintain the speed up the hill as well. There was a lot going on. As I said, towards the front it did spread out a little tiny bit as cars managed to get in clean air ever so slightly. Having said that, there were still plenty of cars close together. The green vehicle was struggling a little bit, was wide through turn 1, compromised in through turn 2, and that's all the invitation the car behind needs. Again, this momentum is so important to keep up your momentum when you're racing in cars like these, and just a small bit out of position is going to cost you that straight line speed, can quite easily cost you a position. I was in 3rd place at this stage, and we were starting to, starting to punch up a little bit here at the top. I was having to try and make as wider a Peugeot as I could. Thankfully, yeah, cars are relatively wide to begin with. It was very, very good fun in this pack, and it doesn't really matter, you know, whether I'm fighting for 3rd place, or it doesn't matter if you're, you know, fighting for 10th place, because you've got cars around you often to fight with for position. It was, yeah, really rather bloody good fun as I continue to hug that inside line with the orange Peugeot. Someone further back gets into all sorts of trouble. Our leader had been leading pretty much from the get-go, but a big two-wheeled moment and running across the curb into the final chicane would cause all sorts of trouble for him. Again, it's that out of position, being so far out of position into the final chicane. Just can't get any speed on the exit of the corner, would mean he was very much under fire, and the white car would go all the way around the outside of that final turn. Now, I had the best run out of that final corner of the lot of them. Of course, I wasn't being compromised at that moment in time, so I have a mega run down the start-finish straight as we head towards turn 1. I'm not quite close enough to have a look at the back of the red car, although he goes very late on the brakes, trying to see if there's an opportunity to take the lead back, and he can't quite do it. And that's now cost him a little bit. Again, it's a car out of position as we run through these next couple of corners. I get a much, much better run as we head up towards the top of the hill. I'll put my car to the inside. This is a scary place to be going too wide. It is very, very fast indeed. And still, we continue to go at who wide. There's a big oversteer moment from the car on the outside. And we continue to give each other racing room, though, and that is, of course, very important to do. Dive down to the hairpin. Red car incredibly late on the brakes, but he overshoots just ever so slightly. That gives me that little bit of a gap to go for the cutback, but still, while I can get my car alongside, I just can't quite get it fully past. Again, there's a little bit of a Peugeot-sized gap. The red car will stick his nose up the inside, and it's still not quite done yet. I will eventually sweep round the outside, though, to take the position. That was, well, kind of 3/4 of a lap of battling. At the start of the lap, we were right behind the leader as he comes round this final corner. That is how much just trying to get one place, how much time that one place can cost you. In the end, yeah, the leader had a pretty big margin of victory in this one after our epic final lap battle for second place. I would take second in this one, with that red car claiming third. I mean, you saw how quick the black vehicle also caught us towards the end of that lap. Peugeots had proved to be an awful, awful lot of fun. But what about the Subarus? Unlike the front-wheel drive 308s, these were all-wheel drive. They only had about 280 horsepower, which, okay, yeah, on the surface of it doesn't sound like a huge amount. They were lightened from the car standard spec. It's a relatively heavy car to begin with. Not the most amazing power-to-weight ratio, but again, we have a field of equally matched cars and a very, very sideways white and red one. These things were quite interesting on cold tyres. After the sort of first half a lap, they did calm down a little bit. They're quite, yeah, quite... quite leery. I tune these a little bit differently to my normal sort of cars, and they actually drive very, very well, but yeah, on cold tyres they're a little bit on the scary side. There is, as you would expect, plenty of shuffling for position. There were a couple of cars that got a little bit dumped on the grass, but nothing major went wrong on this opening lap, as a lot of vehicles running side by side around a very, very long corner. Now, no one was really quite sure where to brake as we come down towards this next turn. It's actually a very, very nasty corner. That's yeah, I don't like it. I'm not very fast around that particular turn, and as you can see, I was immediately coming under threat. My third place was in danger, and I would indeed lose out to someone as we head into the very, very fast S's. The Subarus could be a little bit oversteery down here. Unfortunately for me, the two cars ahead would come together ever so slightly, and I'd lose another place having to try and avoid all of that kerfuffle. It's a very angry pack of cars behind me, though, through that very, very fast right-hander. The Sonoma circuit, not the easiest place to overtake on, certainly through the S's. This layout a little bit more so than the short layout, the NASCAR layout. Unfortunately, someone would end up in the tyre bundle on the inside, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't like the tyre bundles on Forza 6. They are just an accident magnet because they grab cars and they turn them around and just generally cause mayhem. On the whole, though, we made it through the opening stages relatively well. Again, this was another race where it was incredibly difficult for me trying to find highlights because wherever you looked, someone was trying to overtake somebody. Certainly in the opening few laps, every single position pretty much in the field, except for at the very front, was under fire at some point. Every single position. I mean, we're 3 wide up ahead in this group. The red car that we're following at the moment is busy trying to go around the outside of a blue vehicle, and will just about make it stick as we come into the fast S's once more. Got to be careful, though, not to run too wide. You can see the dust being kicked up from the cars ahead. Yeah, very easy to get yourself in a world of trouble across the dirt. And now behind, having got clear of that little group, 2 blue cars were busy fighting. The mid-pack very quickly got, well, bonkers, quite frankly. We're fighting for position. This white and gold car didn't have the greatest of starts, and it certainly started down towards the back of the field. Was keen to try and make up some positions. I mean, it's solid 2 wide going into this corner. It's solid 2 wide through here as everyone is looking to try and make up a position. The problem is, when you're trying to attack the car ahead, you might just leave that little bit of a gap for the car behind you. But when there's 4 or 5 of you in the same group, there's just no space for anyone to really try and make stuff work. The white car was clearly the fastest vehicle in this group, but it's just stuck in traffic. The cars ahead are busy going 2 wide. You can't really make it 3 wide at most points around this circuit, so you've got to really carefully pick and choose your moment, and the white car does a fantastic job as we head into the S's, gets a better run out of the strange sort of square hairpin, and would get himself towards the front of the group. But yeah, patience is very, very important as I get incredibly sideways in my Subaru through that quick corner. I didn't intend to do that one. That was a little bit scary. I'm going to be honest. I was down. I say down. I was in 4th place, having been, I wouldn't say bopped around early on. I had kind of just been stuck in traffic for a little while. I was going pretty quickly in the Subaru and would go for probably one of my more spectacular overtakes. It's around the outside with only a couple of millimeters to spare between me and the turquoise car. As I said, that is probably one of the hardest places to overtake on the track. There was just about space to make it work. Again, not quite sure how I got away with that one. I wasn't fully expecting it to work, but that would put me up into 3rd place. And yeah, the battle towards the front would rage on, much like we saw with the Peugeots. The things would gradually spread out as the race went on, and as battles formed and as cars escaped battles, that did tend to spread out the field into little clusters. The turquoise car was not having much luck at the fast right-hander. This time it is the white SVX that would dive up the inside to try and make the place work. Now, you can go around the outside of the hairpin. Much easier to go around the outside of the hairpin here if you can get a really good exit off of the core of the turquoise car, though just not quite able to, although he's still right there as we head down towards turn 1. Has a little bit of a sniff up the inside. Has a big think about having a dive there. It is a very, very narrow place, and you do not want to have your car squished against the wall. I then managed to outbrake myself and go a little bit exploring through that turn 2, turn 3 area, while it had been excellent fun further back. At the head of the field, again, we had a little bit of a breakaway. Now, lap time-wise was incredibly close between the entire field, but the front 2 got clear of the squabbling pack and ran away. And while we're busy fighting, you saw how much time can be lost when you are busy fighting. Yeah, if you can break away at the front and not make any mistakes, then you do stand a fairly decent chance. So it would be the blue SVX that would go on to claim a victory. But 3rd place was far from done. My little outbraking manoeuvre at turn 2 had cost me dearly, and the white vehicle would find a way past, although I wasn't giving up, and neither was the turquoise car as we head towards this, my favourite overtaking spot apparently. I tried to make it around the outside once more. Think better of that one. I can't quite carry the speed through there. You better bet it should have a dive up the inside into the final corner. I can't do it. However, the white car just leaves that gap on the inside. He just runs just a smidge wide, doesn't quite get the apex, and that gives me an opportunity to get my car underneath. The turquoise car gets the best run out of the hairpin of the lot of us as we all hair towards the line and cross it very, very close indeed, and then the driver tires have a little bit of a moment, and I think the turquoise car may have ended up in the wall. Not the closest photo finish we have had, but between 3 cars, pretty damn good going. Nevertheless, I would get that 3rd place. The white car just missing that apex by, well, not even a metre was enough. It allowed me to get the nose of my car up the inside. I kind of shuffled him across towards the wall so he couldn't get as good an exit as possible, and I could outdrag him. The turquoise car was coming quickly, but just ran out of time. An incredible finish to a fantastic race with these Subarus. So, there we go, some slightly unusual racing series there. The SVX was actually a really good car. Now, both of these vehicles ended up the build I had on them. The SVX ended up at the top of the B class, the Peugeot at the top of C class. Now, in their respective classes, they're rubbish. This is not a good B class car. The Peugeot is not a particularly, I say not a good, they're not particularly fast, not particularly quick, sort of leaderboard time-wise. However, they are great fun to race against, well, themselves. You have a field of them, they are excellent fun. I have both the tunes for these on my storefront if you want to go and have a go with them. I recommend messing about with these. They are incredibly exciting to go racing with a bunch of evenly matched cars. So yeah, I would say that these were very much a success, these Unlikely Race series. I am going to have a vote in the comment section I'm gonna put up some comments and sort of like the ones that you agree with as to whether you would like to see, you know, an SVX series or a Peugeot series, or whether we're better off just getting a Clio like a normal person. But yeah, have a vote on there and we'll see which which one would win. Fantastic things. Single make racing is just the best thing. However, that is going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.